just for the record, I'm gonna flip 15,000 miles on this ride today. Super stoked about that. I still need to look up the recommended service for the 15,000 miles to see if I'm gonna do it, or if I'm gonna use my last free or prepaid for, I guess, service at Harley for it. We'll see what that says. I still need to do that. But other than that, it's been a week. Tuesday night I went to Paul's and we got both the TW and the 230 sorted out. We rejetted the pilot jet for the 230 and it's running better than I think it ever has since I've had it anyway. So I will be taking that to the National Forest on Monday. I'm super excited about that. Just being able to go out and rip it up by myself. Super stoked. The TW, we replaced the clutch. We bought an aftermarket adjustable clutch so we could set the distance between the clutch and the handlebar for Gabriel so he could, with his small hands, be able to grab it more easily. Because basically, right, the last point of engagement on the stock clutch, his hand is like, he can barely get his fingerprints on, or his fingertips on it. So he's having to rotate his hand out to be able to grab it and then completely change his riding position, his hand position on the bar. So we got an adjustable one, which will bring it closer. And it was just fine-tuning that a little bit. And it doesn't work perfectly. Those are obviously set up for just true dirt bikes. Even though it's fully universal, when you have the clutch pulled all the way in, you can still, when you start it, it goes forward ever so slightly on the asphalt, but in the dirt, I don't think he'll notice it. So it's not huge, and we are shopping for his next dirt bike now. I started messaging and calling people for the 125 big wheel this week. It's just like a lot of people have commented on or made videos about right now, dealerships really are just gouging destination fees still due to what happened during COVID. And so a bike at that list price, $3,200 for the 22 model, $3,749 for the 23 model, and that's going up to almost $5,500 because of taxes and destinations and all these other fees that they're tacking on. It's like, wait, that's ridiculous. So I'm just going to start looking farther and farther out of Houston. I contacted a place in Tyler and a place in Austin, Texas this week. And unfortunately, the big wheel is the 125 that sells much more readily. So it will just be a function of trying to find it, especially before summer really gets here. We may have to go a little farther north to where they're not selling for this season yet, but they're still trying to sell last year's used or slightly used one, or even the brand new from last year. But hey, we're starting to figure that out, starting to look. I won't let myself be gouged like that. And the unfortunate thing is people are paying it, so the dealerships they feel they can get away with it because, well, they're getting away with it. It's just, they went away from the carburetors in 2019, so obviously you can find a bunch of 2017 and 2018 ones that nobody wants because they have the carburetor, and I want the fuel injection. They don't want to deal with another carburetor. But if it gets down to where it's the difference between $5,500, and if I can find a 17 or 18 of any variety 125 big wheel, then I'll just bite the bullet and we'll have another carburetor. So that was the talk I had with Paul and dealing with purchasing motorcycle, fixing the two we have. So we still need to order a couple parts for the TW. The parts that I have ordered but cannot find, basically. I need to get those parts. Which, funny enough, one of the parts that for the TW, the speed sender unit for the speedometer that goes on the front axle, it's with my derby cover gasket for this bike, which is why I haven't modified my derby cover yet, because I can't find that gasket. Now it's only like a $10 part, but still it's annoying. And I know at some point I'll find that stuff and it's like, oh wow, it got put where? So I'll need to buy another speed sender unit, whatever they call it, for the TW. Again, it's like a $15, $20 part. It's not expensive, but I hate buying things twice. I hate losing things. I hate not having my stuff organized. So I'll just be better about that. And I thought I was good about it, but obviously not. So, and then after everything gets worked on, everything gets fixed that we currently ride, we can finally start working on the Dakar and get it back on the road. I have at least the initial part and the battery that I need to get that on the go, but then we'll have to figure out fuel lines, because I'm either deleting or not deleting the Tour Tech, the panniers that hold an extra 10 gallons. If we're not deleting them, then we'll have to replumb a lot of that, because I took it off and the hose line was all rotten through. So we'll have to reconnect all the disconnect, because there's quick disconnects that go to the Tour Tech. That way you don't have to pull the whole fuel line when you pull one of them off to like get to the radiator, that kind of thing. So we'll have to do a full flush, oil change, all everything, but we got to get it running first. And that should literally be the matter of one part. Had a buddy help me weld a new tail section on, and he tried to pop off the bit that covers the spark plug, and it's a BMW, so they do things a little differently, and he ended up breaking that. But you can't just replace the boot, you've got to replace the entire unit, and you've got to take the airbox off. Yeah, it gets more in detail after that. So hopefully in the next month or so we can start playing with the Dakar, start taking that out to Paul. And that will be fun. I didn't think, like when I stopped riding that bike, I didn't think I would miss riding it at any point, just because I've gotten so bored of riding it. But it's at the point where, especially with like all the stuff we've cut off of it, how much lighter it's going to be, I'll be able to lower it if I want to, because I bought one of the lowering links, because I started modifying it so Elizabeth could ride. But I won't get into the saga that is her eye. But basically, she's got a corneal issue currently, where when her eye swells, her vision gets blurry and she sees a lot of rainbows. So being on a motorcycle, driving it, not being on it, but like being in command of the motorcycle, and learning with that is just not in her best interests right now. So she can still drive fine just because the windscreen helps with that a bit, or doesn't harm it at least. But so she'll ride with me occasionally, but she won't be learning to ride yet. Yeah, so good week for motorcycles. We've got a plan for everything. Just a matter of when do I want to buy parts for the TW and finish that. When are we going to find a bike for Gabriel? And that's partially not in my control. What the part of that is in my control is where am I looking, how far out am I looking, and how far are we willing to drive for a dirt bike. And typically that answers, well, pretty far, because we can drive somewhere, flat out on a Monday, even or a Sunday Monday, get there for first thing Tuesday, as long as they have it in stock, or if we're buying it used, we'll just be able to meet up with someone. And then, because most dealerships aren't open Sunday, Monday, they're open Tuesday through Saturday. I can take Tuesday off, buy a dirt bike, and my man Daniel will be cool with that. He knows how much enjoyment we get from the dirt bike, so it's just finding one. And we've really been thinking the Honda because of the fuel injection, but if they're going to be $5,500, even a cash price, that's ridiculous for a bike that's 37. Anyway, had one of the most stressful conversations I've had as an adult for my business. Had to talk to my lawyer about our contractors, and this won't come out for a month or so from today, partially because that's just how backed up I am on footage on everything right now, but also because I want at least the majority of that resolved before I just randomly talk about calling my lawyer. Not that he knows I have a YouTube channel or film anything, but just in case, the whole CYA. So that was super stressful. And man, I really and I know our lawyer. We've known this guy. He's a great guy. We've known him for 5 years, if not longer. He's the guy who helped us do all the incorporation papers and get all of our legal stuff situated, our employee agreement, our corporate agreements, all of that stuff. We've made knives for him. Absolutely great guy. And so I had a conversation with a lawyer I genuinely like and trust and know, and it was still a super stressful situation. I really feel for people who have to make that call and they don't know the lawyer they're calling. That's got to be super stressful. Good God. So if you've ever had to make a phone call to a lawyer, I feel for you. The anxiety, the stress behind that phone call. And it's been looming over our head for at least 2 months, but we've known it's been coming for even longer than that. But basically, our contractor missed the most current deadline we had, and I say most current because he's now 10 months past due on our showroom project. Yes. And so he missed the deadline, And then I'll get it done by the end of that week. Well, the 8th was whatever it was, Wednesday, Thursday. Missed that. Said he'd get it done by the end of the week. Yeah. And so he might get it. No, he's not getting it done by the end of next week. He'll have more done, and that's excellent. If we can get the floors done and the cabinets in, and hopefully the glass on the door, I can do everything else. Hell, I could probably do the floors, but he's got the cabinets he's been building for a month or so off-site. So if I could get all of that in before we send the letter out, then that'll just help set us up for success. Oh man, contractors. Big promises, little executions. So, good God, I really don't want to go to litigation for any of that, but I just don't know how it'll go, so we'll see. So that's my week, and just trying to work and still be creative and constantly learning new things for the business and relearn things because I don't do a lot of leather work anymore because I like making knives and not making leather. But occasionally you got to just go, oh, well, hey, I need that for this project. So I'm doing an inlay on a leather sheath for a custom knife I built for this customer. And I've done inlays in leather before. It's just been a long time, and you go to fold it over. This knife sheath is smaller than the last ones I did inlays in, and so it's pooching differently. So how am I going to fix that now? And I think I got it fixed, but still, trying to be creative and mentally healthful through the super stressful and anxiety-ridden project has been hard. Hence, super long rides in the morning to try to get your head right. My wife's back in town after going to the Bandera Fiber Festival, so we got a market today. Whether I'll still have battery left, you'll still see me pull into Harley-Davidson Mancuso over at Crossroads where we bought my motorcycle. We've been doing some rally days with them. They had a chili cook-off for the rodeo last month, and they invited us to this rally. So they haven't been hugely successful, but we've handed out a bunch of brochures. You know, people on motorcycles love knives, so we also do knife sharpening and that kind of thing. So we've gotten some business into the shop from them. So we'll see how this one goes and make a decision whether we're going to do any more of them in the future. But it's cool that my two worlds collided. Taylor saw us at one of the farmers markets and was like, introduced herself to my wife, and I was like, wait, you work for who? I was like, oh, that's where we spent a lot of time there. That's where we bought our bikes. And so she invited us to the first one, which was October, November or so last year. So we've done 2 or 3 with them. I think this will be the 3rd one. Or 4th. I don't know. I can't keep track anymore. It was just cool that my 2 worlds collided. My knife world and my motorcycle world. My 2 passions in life. Woo. So, headed down 45 south because this is one of the freeways I can't ride during the week because there's no HOV northbound coming back in, and traffic on this freeway before 9 o'clock in the morning, oh man, during the week this thing is backed up like out to here. It's ridiculous. So I gotta watch the time because I've gotta meet my wife at Mancuso Crossroads for about 9 o'clock. So I'll probably end up being early there. Because I hate being late. So it's 6:19, so I have almost 3 hours. 2 3/4, 2 hours, 45 minutes, however you want to say it. 2 hours, 40 minutes. No countdown happening. So make it down to Galveston, right on the seawall a little bit. Make it back up. Head up. Oh, I'm going to make it back up to that part of town. So I will say, about half an hour after the call with our lawyer, like the weight just lifted off the chest. Like, okay, we have a next step. Yeah, we still have worries and concerns and that thing, but you know, the step was taken. The conversation for that was over, and once Daniel and I talked through this, just man, the weight and the stress just come off for a while because you have a plan, you have someone on your side that's going to help you. Just the unloading of everything that's gone wrong. Whew. Don't get me wrong, it still sneaks back in. It still ekes its way, and it's like, oh, well, what about this? What about that? What's gonna happen? Hey, simmer down. Don't be hasty. That whole negative self-talk, downward spiral, like just starting to stress about things. Man, I've had it under control for a few times in my life, for a few months at best, but the last year has been really bad for me. Just trying to be happy and healthy. Woo, yep, so motorcycles. So I'll get a nice ride in today. Help my wife set up a market. Back to the shop and get changed for work. Have a nice productive work day. Tomorrow I'll be able to go on a longer ride because the rest of the family is flying out to Seattle to see Papa Jim up in Snohomish after the market tomorrow. So I'll go and help break down the market. So I'll help her set up, help her break down. That way she's not super tired. And then I'll take everybody to the airport. And then I'll be batching it for a week. But I didn't even think about it. I came into the house last night after work. My daughter and the boys went out to Sherwood Renaissance Festival. And I came back in, hadn't thought about it at all. But it's like, man, I've got the dog. Crap. She didn't take her dog with her. Hadn't told me anything about it, so I was kind of surprised. It was like, oh, I've got to keep the dog alive for an entire week. Oh, man. Don't get me wrong, I can be responsible. It's just, I like to know in advance what I'm responsible for, and when I don't get asked things or don't get told things about things that I'm going to be directly responsible for, especially like a life of something, like it's just surprising because it's not my dog, right? This is a dog that was largely forced upon our living situation, and I didn't have a choice or say in the matter. And then I didn't know I was going to be caring for this dog. So it was just a bit of a surprise when I came in. It's like, oh, they didn't take it camping. She's not an it. That's rude. Sorry. They didn't take her camping with them. And I get it because most of the time they're gonna be in the fairgrounds, but I didn't know. So it was a bit of a surprise. It's like, oh, I've got the dog. Oh, that means I've got the dog all next week while everybody's in Seattle. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I grew up with dogs. I know how to care for them. It's just I can, especially when nobody else is home, I can be very irresponsible because I can wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning and go motorcycling until literally like 9 o'clock when I have to change and get ready for work, and walk the 30 feet from my house to the modified garage so I can do what I do. But now I'm going to have to budget time to let the dog out and pay attention to the dog a little bit and make sure I feed the dog and the water. And it's not a lot. I get it. Like, caring for dogs is very easy. It's just I didn't know. And that might sound funny. Well, everyone's going on a trip. Of course, no. Like, she's taking the dog with her at times. Like, and other times she's playing for someone else to have the dog. So I'll have to budget that time into my world now. And when I go to lunch, I'll have to let the dog out because you can't just do that stuff. Keeping her alive is one thing, but trying to keep her happy too. Like, yeah. So slightly less motorcycling and slightly more responsibility. I can do it. I didn't know. And I told my wife last night when she got in, it was like, I've got the dog all next week. And she laughed. She's like, of course you do. I was like, yeah, but I didn't know. And she just laughed. She's like, and I can see that. Like, oh, it's funny and it's not a big deal, but it's like, but I didn't know. And like G.I. Joe used to say, knowing's half the battle. Like, I can do things if I've been prepared for them, but I was not prepared. Like I said, not a big deal. I just didn't know. But now I know, and I got it, and I'll just have to be responsible. And that's fine. I can do that because they need to go see Papa Jim. Papa Jim is getting old. They only saw him once last year because he had COVID, and he's been having some health issues because of COVID. And now he's got some super rare form of leukemia that doesn't do anything for 5 years, but he's still got it, and it's, I guess, slowly building, but they can't do anything until it starts showing symptoms. But it's just one more complication than when you're like, whatever, 92, now he's got to be 93. Yeah, he just had a birthday, 93, 94. Hell, I can't do math. He's 93 or 94. And even he says he can feel the difference between last year and this year. He's moving around more slowly. He gets winded more easily. Now, don't get me wrong. He still started a garden largely by himself, but made sure my wife was with him, so in case he fell or something, he had someone there with him. But he still did all the digging. And then she would put the seeds in or put the bulb in or whatever it was, and then he'd finish the hole. Like, he did the digging, so he's still capable. He just stopped cutting the grass in the last 6 months. He's got a riding lawnmower that he got a couple years ago. So he just stopped doing that. He was like 92 when he stopped cutting the grass. But, you know, losing your wife of, hell, 60 years? 65 years? That's hard. That's hard. My mama and papa, my family from Tennessee, she died in the year that they would have been celebrating their 65th wedding anniversary, extremely suddenly. And everyone thought Papa wasn't going to make the year. Man, he fucking pulled up his bootstraps and he made another 5 or 6 years because the rest of his family was super important to him too. And he still had girls to support and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And man, he pulled it out. And he had another half dozen amazing years with his family, even though the love of his life was gone. Man, can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. I've been married for 22 years. Can't even imagine. That's tough right there. They don't make them like that anymore. My papa was born within a couple years of Papa Jim, who was born within a couple years of our down the mountain neighbor up in Maple Falls, Washington, which is outside Bellingham. And so, like, man, I've known 4 guys, 5 guys that were born, 1929, 30, 31, 32, literally born in the Great Depression, were raised by people who lived through the Great Depression, lived through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, like, them some tough sons of bitches, man. Tough sons of bitches. They can do everything. They know how to break something down. Some of the smartest, wiliest, and craftiest people I know. And if you don't talk to them, we're just losing that knowledge. Damn, that's pretty, ain't it? Oh, look at that. 15,001 mile. Hopefully that's put it right. There we go. Look at that. That means in, let's see, 12, 13, 14, in 14 months, a year and 2 months that is, I have put 13,600 miles on this motorcycle. Because when I bought it, it had like 13.3 and change. So just typically you round up to, oh, it had 15 on it. So 13,500 miles. Round it down, that's fine. I don't mind rounding down. In 14 months. Well, when you do the math like that, that ain't so bad. Because I aim loosely, no, not loosely, I really try to get 1,000 miles in every month. And I've had months where it's been over that, and I've had months that's been under that. But it's usually been pretty close. If I've missed it, I've been pretty close to it. Oh, that's windy. Oh, that's windy. So this is the causeway leading from the mainland of Texas to Galveston, so big ships could go under this. Not really big ships, just big ships. There's a bigger one over to the port of Houston on the east side of Houston, the ship channel bridge. But this is the causeway, so moderately big boats and ships, barges, if you can see that way the fuck out there. At least barges can get through, but not the big tankers, not the big container ships. They've got to go to the ship channel if they go up to the port of Houston. There is a port here in Galveston. It's just, it's smaller. From my understanding, don't let me talk too far out of my ass. I am definitely not a shipping expert. Okay, and the first thing I will be doing after reaching 15,000 miles is finding gas. Because what do you do when you ride an 883 Sportster, Iron 883, whatever you want to call it? I don't care. Oh, no, don't crash. Dear God. Please check your blind spot before lane change. It's very easy. Keeps your truck in one piece. Because one of the things you do a lot when you ride an Iron 883 with a stock tank, you find gas every 125 miles. All the time. Go on a ride, you get out about an hour and a half, you find gas. 100 miles, I've gotten 120. Hell, I think I got 136 before the light came on one time. Oh, and look, there's a Shell station. So I'll go down the Strand a little bit, and then I'll come back for it. How's it going? See, look, I love this thing. You go like this, you go boop. Pulls up all your gas stations. So if you want to go to a different one, no problem. Love it. But look, there's a gas station right there. I hate that they don't have premium on all the signs anymore. That drives me crazy. Like, oh, we'll just get an idea of how much our premium is because of how much our regular is. Nah, I don't want to. Well, damn, typically Shell is a lot higher than everything else. That no name was the same price as the Shell. Woo! Okay, now I gotta do one other thing too. I gotta make sure on my time frame. Oh, not a whole lot of signal apparently. Yeah, start again. There we go. Awesome. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Visor just got dirty. Okay, okay. It's just 9.9. That's funny. Okay. Oh, I get it. Okay. 1 hour, 49 minutes. Okay, you finished processing. Good. Okay. Oh shit, I gotta go. Okay, no time for oh look, there's another shelf. I'll just go that one. Oh, and it's cheaper. Haha.